Hello, and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. This is Geek Out 112 over the Immortal continent by, just had it pulled up, Virlyce. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And yeah, this was a great palette cleanser for me. In simplest yet descriptive enough, I would say if you have ADHD, need a little bit of squirrel chaos in your life and understand what the word lewd means, this is the book for you. I guess that's
Yes, yes. I feel the need. I don't know if we did this for the first book to come out with a bit of a disclaimer before we go any further,
it
since
is a
it
little
is
adult content.
yes, since it is the internet, this is a work of fiction. Consent is always important, and I think both Peter and I agree so. And when we laugh and find humor in it, it's very much of the mind that this is a work of fiction, and just the over top slapstick comedy absurdness of it just um yes, like there are moments where for me one of the many things I enjoy about this book is just like Lucia, and how regardless of what's coming at her, she just has this very simplistic devotion to her goals, and nothing's going to get in her way. And yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, and random line of thought reminds me of a TikTok I saw. I think it's like Connor or something Wolf. He does a bunch of ADHD content, but essentially they walk up and they're like, "All right, vibe check," and he's like, "Oh nope, the vibes are off. We got to go." And
Hmm.
moral of the story, or why I feel I relate more so to this book, is ADHD content where her tail
Yes,
is essentially a vibe check to see if she's going to be fine, and the
yes.
irony, what is it, Phoenix and something else that the squirrel rivals.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
When this is one of the books that I found and introduced to Peter, because I'm just like, hey, I call you a squirrel all the time. And now that he's listened to it, I'm like, hey, Lucia, come back, you know, channel less of the Lucia and more of the, oh, just drawing a blank, our purple skin BFF that we drag along into the
Ilya.
more Ilya, yes.
I was gonna
Yes.
say giant city spanning focus bone, but Ilya works too.
Yes. Yes. Carve some runes on that focus bone. Take your focus bone medicine and let's dial in and get some stuff done. So book one was a grind
God King's legacy.
yeah, montage to, becoming a legend. And we meet his immortal sword, or not immortal. We meet his sword.
Or sword? Or well, okay, the god we meet the God King sword, and then
Mhm.
yeah, she or he chooses Lucia as his master or as his
Yeah, is
holder.
it Rondel? Is
Yeah,
that right?
Durandal.
Durandal. Thank you, thank you. Um, and in a lot of ways, book two kind of like followed a similar pattern where we have our moment in the first arc where we're bonding with Durandal and getting all close and seeing Lucia's unhealthy obsession with him. And yeah, and then he disappears on us for some reason, right? Like we see him again in book two, Durandal, um, you know, goes and starts consuming swords and powering up. And then all of a sudden, oh, when Lucia has one of her tribulations after like they destroy all these sects, he ends up merging with a phoenix
Or
egg.
so
And
she has her tribulation essentially about to wipe out another sect, and then Durandal surpasses his barrier and has his
mhm,
tribulation. He
mhm,
wants to face it on his own. He's
mhm,
using this, sword technique that he picks up, but ends up losing. control or focus on it and dies, more or less.
Yeah.
Which then turns back into a seed. Mini Doll breaks, and yeah, then he fights a unborn phoenix, wins. Yeah, becomes an egg.
Yeah. In a way, like this book was kind of nice that it helps explain her over the top power scale, right? Like we learn even
I
more
felt the
that,
opposite. I felt like nothing was really
yeah.
explained. Well, because for me, there's a division between our pocket universe and the Immortal continent.
Hmm.
Because as we see with Ilya, she has magic or mana,
Hmm.
and she can do
Hmm.
essentially everything. But all the people in the Immortal continent are using chi, which is what Lucia uses. But
Right.
then they can only perceive the power of a cultivation technique that they cultivate.
Hmm.
So they can't see her power in other senses, but they can kind of understand it when they say, oh, she's only a low rank in heart double cultivation or whatever, but she's
Hmm.
in a super high rank and she's almost like a dragon in this other sense. And it's just kind of like everybody keeps underestimating her because they can only kind of gauge or see the chi or whatever is prevalent or dominant in this world. Um,
Right.
and kind of like with Ilya, where she's like, no, anybody with mana can do this. And then we get that whole like
Fireball, fireball, fireball,
everybody's
fireball.
yeah, everybody's
Yeah. Yeah.
stagnating because they want to be as good as our ancestors, which reminds me of another meme that I don't
Gosh, you're
need to
so
go
hip.
into, but short version is the forefathers are like, "What? You're still using those?" Yeah, so I made those with a quill. You know,
Hmm.
we didn't even
Hmm.
have light bulbs or something, something, something.
Hmm.
Yeah, we expected you to advance this. Anyway.
And as you know, we always like to come back to it as far as the little life lessons and the nuggets we take out of it. Yes, yeah, we get the slapstick comedy and sadism and masochism and just other sexual innuendos throughout this book that make us laugh. But Ilya has a lot of those profound moments where she's like, okay, why are you guys all obsessing over these ideas that are thousands upon thousands of years old, right? Like innovate. Back in our pocket realm that you guys are always, talking down on, uh, we advanced leaps and bounds. What was it, like 50, 80 years since the
Or yeah,
God
even
King?
since Godking. Yep.
Yeah. And here you guys are obsessing over how these guys did it. And not only
Yeah,
that, but
finding the tomb of some great person who failed to become an immortal. You're trying to become an
mhm.
immortal by following their footsteps. It's kind of like something, something, something. Following, yeah.
Yeah, and you and I have both had those moments where we are on a job and yes, like it's important to learn the fundamentals and the foundation and to learn the system before you innovate and to do things that way you don't unintentionally break things. But I know you and I have both shared experiences on jobs where just because this is the way we've always done it doesn't mean it's the best way to do it, right?
Well, not
Like,
only not the best way, but everybody's different. And currently in my occupation,
you're certainly
I
different.
have met more left-handed individuals at this job than I have ever met in my life. I'm pretty sure on my team at one time we had 6 of our 18 associates in our
Wow.
team who were left-handed. There are a lot of jobs that are designed right-handed, where like for example, if we have an air tool, it you have to utilize your right hand. So they've got to feed or use stuff. So that is not necessarily a hindrance because at the job you've got to be ambidextrous, but the simple design change from a standard air tool that looks like a drill to more of a pencil style where it's, more of a squeeze control that you could do with either hand. Saves them a lot more time now because it's quicker for everybody to pick up.
Right. Right.
So not to say that your method doesn't work, but you've had X amount of years being right hand dominant. Yeah, it's going to be fine. If you have 0 years being right hand dominant, it's a learning curve.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so between book 1 and book 2, there was approximately a year that went by. Lucia has been chilling. She kind of has her own little kingdom now. Does what she can to right the wrongs and crush the slave traders that come through her territory and extort everyone else. Um, her sword Durandal is just about to go into what they called the legendary realm or rank, which we thought was the peak of everything. And then this book, we learn there's a whole new power scaling in the Immortal content, right? It pretty much goes Saint, Expert, Earth, Sky, and then Immortal, right? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So we hang out at Snow's grave, the cross-dressing bandit rabbit who betrayed us early on. Lucia takes him some poison hot chocolate. We reminisce a bit, and then all of a sudden, all these, as Lucia describes them, um, feminists or femme boys who she doesn't find attractive at all start showing up in her garden, and her and Durandal just start, doing their thing, killing slash not killing them. She doesn't kill people just because her limbs can regenerate. She thinks everybody else's limbs can regenerate. So as long as she doesn't cut off their heads, they should be fine. And
Uh, yeah,
then,
I'd grab that one.
you grabbing it?
Oh yeah. Yep. Deleted, banned.
Yeah, you made it when we get people spamming our stream. Um, oh, and we get our boy Puppers also
He
helping.
did not have enough screen time for me because I was expecting a she kind of got fixated on getting the underwear weapon spirit and they're all male and that didn't work out. So currently she
Mhm,
has socks and a sword, which
mhm.
could be considered full armor in select games, is not yet full armor. I expected her to go further and to do more, as well as like she's got all these, additional ones that she picked up, and they're essentially just currency, and nobody ever puts them in anything.
Mhm.
But as we're learning with Rondel, there are ways to expand or change how everything operates because he didn't have a Dantian prior, but now he does.
Yeah, he starts to have his own chi, which is pretty important. Prior, he would always have to pull from Lucia's chi.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, we also meet the man in the sky, Lord Fire, something fancy pants, and we get a lot of background to the fact that their dimension's a pocket realm, and Durandal learns that he wants all these swords and wants to push Lucia to grow stronger, et cetera, all for his quote selfless reasons. And he pretty much tricks her into taking the teleportation stone back to the Immortal Continent. And Lucia, being who she is, grabs her BFF, her walking purple encyclopedia, and yeah, from the get go, we learn how different this realm is. Um, and we're anime buffs, but in a lot of ways, it really reminded me of kind of like a Bleach feel almost. Like they have all these different sects that have their own schools. And we learned that the Pocket Realm has something like 2 million with an M people in it. And just the Shadow Sect alone, which is one of, is it 100 in that county or more than that? Maybe
Yeah, there's a lot.
there's a lot, but each one of those pretty much have like 1 million members, right? And
Or that was just people who apply every year
oh,
for
that's
that
true.
context.
That's
Because I
true.
think we get an even bigger number when she goes through the whole like, well, this person sounds like this, and that person sounds like that, and this one sounds like this. So who just spoke in a grandfatherly voice? Who is this? And she goes
Yeah.
back, and yeah, she's it's like, oh, it looks like our chosen is about to speak. Well, beep, that's a lot of people. I'm getting out of here. And I was like,
Right.
yes, I can totally understand that. Being hyped for something new and it's supposed to be going places and being like, yeah, nope, not happening. Too many people.
Social anxiety? No, thank you. Um, yeah. I just really got a chuckle out of how their cultivation technique is just so perfect for Lucia, right? Like she pretty much stole this technique from the guy that drank the hot chocolate that she took for Snow that was poisoned. He had a scroll to learn the cultivation, which didn't necessarily make sense why he would have it and not already know it.
Or he probably
Um,
did. It's much like how Ilya learned it after Lucia learned it. It's not like traditional MMO scrolls where it vanishes after use.
so it could be reused. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah, to
sense.
either give to others or I took
Right.
it more as kind of like when Durandal's like, "Oh yeah, you gotta train your poison body," and then she's like, no, did you not read that little footnote?" And they're like, "WTF? Why would you put footnotes in anything?" And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. But the heart devil cultivation technique is pretty much when they like have negative feelings towards you, right? How would you describe it to somebody? It's not
I
exclusively
it
fear.
is
It's
if
like envy.
someone develops a insecurity due to your actions, because it could
Okay.
be relationship-esque, like, oh, the guy where I've never been denied ever in my life, so he's had that one planted. Could be insecurities about yourself, like
Right.
oh, Softy feeling like she can never catch up. It's just for someone to create doubt in a manner inside somebody else
Right.
is what I got, which I felt like it didn't really explain a whole lot, but that's kind of the nature of the beast of the book. But on that note, she picks up a bunch of additional cultivation techniques, which, due to her, she is essentially Goku on a human world, where she's actually a Saiyan or Squirrelkin, and yeah, so she's got
That's a good comparison.
an
Real good
innate
comparison.
magical potential, where the rest of the world is Yamcha or Krillin.
Uh yeah. What takes them 100 years, she could do in one with all
While
her
being
impurities.
negatively impacted by all her food obsession.
Yep. Yep. So when people call you a squirrel, take it as a compliment and just channel that incredible body cultivation techniques.
I just take
Um,
everything as a compliment, or it's not my problem.
uh,
I am so aggressively passive aggressive. It's unbelievable. Someone starts talking stuff about, whatever, and I'm just like, who peed in your Cheerios today? This probably isn't even about me.
yep, yep. It sounds like a you problem. Um,
That, or I
yeah.
break out my South Park, where they're trying to get rid of the murder porn. They're like, and they've got the little nipple flaps. They're like, yeah, why don't you go to somebody else? You can't.
Uh,
We're the only
uh,
one. So that's the point.
so
So
fitting for
yeah,
this
we
book.
get quite a bit of combat, quite a bit of power scaling.
I was
Uh,
about to say, did you have enough combat, Pete? I feel like that's like a good chunk of this book. If we
there
weren't,
was a lot of combat. There were only a couple like you from the way this has been set up, you always expect her to win, and there wasn't really like a overwhelming dread moment, kind of like the previous one where, we got poisoned, so we had to do all this extra stuff to get Durandal back. Like, yeah, I guess that's
mm-hmm,
kind of the main arc is to get Durandal back. Um,
mm-hmm.
but it was more about figuring out what the new realm is and getting multiple cultivation techniques. Yeah. And
Learning about the Immortal continent and what all goes on there.
yeah.
And they pretty much can't go back unless a Sky Realm expert opens the portal, right?
Well, that's what didn't quite line up for me because at the beginning they say, oh, they generate something that then gets distributed and then you can utilize it to get back into the pocket realm. But in
Mm-hmm.
fact, it was the portal itself just needed to be forced open by chi of a certain caliber. She didn't create anything.
I thought it was either or. Like it's
Oh,
a
okay.
rare
That
a
would
rare
that would be
item that they only get, like the Shadow Sect only gets something like 5 every 100 years that they use for this thing where they send their junior members. Um, and the rule
Or well, so
is,
that's another weird thing there where they mentioned there are other pocket universes, but a lot of the parameters for only certain rankings can enter, I felt like were specific to ours because
mhm,
I keep mentioning it as that's what the person who developed your pocket universe, the rules they set in place. So I would assume that there are other qualifications that we somehow meet and or there's going to be a better one that has more pocket universes off of it after reaching Immortal.
yeah. You haven't read the third book yet, have you?
No.
Good, good. It's been a minute since I've read the third book. Um, but yeah, I would love to see other pocket realms, um, and all that fun goodness.
Well, like at the end of book one, I assumed we were definitely going to another one, another universe or pocket realm or whatever, just from
Hmm.
how it ended. But I don't believe we went to our plant based one. Plant that was taking
That's
over everybody in book one.
that's
We did
true.
just destroy the one that's currently here. I assume someone's going to be like, looks like camera 11's out. Let's go investigate. And so we'll get some epic higher level battle scene from that.
The ending really put in perspective the power levels, right? Like, um, they explain that there's different tiers in each of the rankings, um, and that Lucia just kind of like blows through them all.
Or well, I
Uh,
think her benefit is that she's kind of a jack of all versus everybody else only cultivates one.
true,
Where
true.
she's, ends up every sect that she destroys, she gets their, cultivation technique.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of it, we have our normal swinging doll around, mini doll, and then we have the heart devil. We have a shield. We have a poison or anti-poison body. We
Hmm.
have a something that allows us to walk on walls. I think it's like giant step or something.
That was one of your biggest complaints about book one, right? Is she pretty much had like 2 moves,
Yeah, but we're expanding our
excluding using
repertoire.
puppers as a shield or as a sneak attack.
Yeah, and I like we bought all these epic spears, and I know she's not going to be utilizing spears, and she likes her fluffy socks.
Nope, she's hammer
But
time.
my question is Puffers was able to go into the sock. He is now of a higher caliber than the
Mm-hmm.
socks should be able to withhold. So I was expecting him to outlevel the
Mm,
socks to break, and her to have to put him into one of the many spears that she bought for him. I love the realization Ilya has for her when she's like, "Why are you feeding him
no. That
spears?"
was Softy.
Oh, Softy, yeah.
I was
Why are
just
you
about to
feeding
ask.
him spears instead of socks? It's like, what? But it turns out
Yeah.
they only have high ranked boxers. So
Uh, I literally LOL'd when that happened because like I was like asking myself the same thing early on. It's like, hold on, like she's forcing him to eat spears and he's complaining about how bad they taste. Um, it's like, oh, yeah, wonder how good the socks taste. Um, and gosh, as much as you laugh, you can't help but feel for Puppers going from being the companion of the heir
Prince,
to the throne, yeah,
yeah.
to a sock spirit. Um,
I Yeah, I understand the dynamic. I initially expected her to get like a full party of 5 or 6, have it be like her sword, who's Drondle, her socks, who's Puffers, and then like, she was interested in getting the underwear one, and you can have like a top one, a bottom one, and then for a while she was rocking like a ribbon around the base of her tail. So there'd be like the full 5 limbs because she probably won't wear a hat.
with our powers combined,
Yeah.
I am Lucia Fluffytail. Bum bum bum. We kind of got that. Except for it was Softy Claw. Is that right? The one that has the super secret cultivation
It's either
technique
a
from
W or a
behaving.
D, but I don't read it. So, yes, the guy who chops off heads.
Yes. Yes. Um, so they were
Which
kind of like our core cast.
they kind of were implementing at the end that he's going to go off to avenge his parents and go all Batman
Right.
on them. But
Right.
the only reason he got that far was due to Lucia. I do expect him to pop up randomly in a
Oh,
similar fashion to the way, oh, the person who was tending the predators did in this one, where like she was supposed to be part of a gang and
yeah.
was supposed to be some big, you know, be scared, and then it's just like, and now I'm taking care of her pets. Who can
Yep.
destroy me?
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, I it was interesting to see all the different cultivation techniques. The fact that like there's such an animosity towards squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because she goes around as a quote unquote foxkin.
Yeah, but we didn't get to see any other foxkins, or it wasn't depicted if we did.
That's true. Because in the pocket realm, there's pretty much beastkin, humans, and demons.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are the three factions. But in the immortal continent, they're pretty much all humans. Um, yeah. And they know of Foxkin, but I don't think we really saw any other Beastkin. We saw kind of like different creature types, or
Yeah,
I'm
we saw
trying to think of
like
what they called them.
mythical beast or
Yeah, there we
something
go.
similar for
There we go.
the
Yeah.
male anatomy clam.
Yes. Yes. Um,
And then we tried to eat a phoenix, but it turns out that it's fire resistant, and every time you cut off a part, it does its whole eternal rebirth or born from the ashes bit.
I got a chuckle out of the whole like it's written to where like in my mind's eye, it's very much an anime, like where you have the whole, it's not necessarily like nosebleed, but where they all of a sudden like cough up blood when something happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, that plus like the voice actor in this one. This is another like
she does a
very
great job.
talented. If you have an opportunity, I would recommend the audio
Hmm.
because her tones and inflections and just the way you can
Oh, it's
get a sense
incredible.
of more so of where Lucia's mind's going for if she's excited or if she's just blowing it off or yeah, very well done for the voice actor.
The author, rightfully so, dedicates book two
Yeah, to
to
her,
the
which
voice actor.
is Mare Turvalden.
Sure,
Tree Banden.
we'll go with that.
Just put it in the chat so that people can utilize it for what they will. I don't know what else
Yeah,
she does, but it's
it'd be
very
worth checking
well
out.
executed.
Hmm. Um, yeah, yeah. What was one of your favorite scenes from the book? There were many laugh out loud ones for me.
Mm, there were a lot of good ones. I do enjoy towards the end the tablet of madness, and the madness being that there's no such thing as immortality because everything you do will die because the sun is going to explode and or run out of energy. And she's just like, yeah, yeah, whatever. And then the one
Right.
person who can understand it or, is just like, oh, good, I don't have to do this forever. Thank you.
I don't want to be
Is
around Lucia
not able
forever.
to truly utilize it,
Hmm.
which was another weird thing because like I was pretty sure that's how everything was done in the Immortal Continent was through chi, which is the opposite of what people in the pocket dimension utilize.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There was even speculation in book one that the further they utilize like mana, the more it kind of like hindered their chi
Or
progression or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, a lot of people were capping out, and it was due to if you cultivate both, then you use up all your potential and they
Hmm.
counterdict each other. Where she went the opposite of everybody else and went full chi, which is, internal, versus mana, which is
She
more, I
went
guess.
full murder hobo, I think you mean.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, oh gosh, I just had it. There's so many fun scenes. Um, one of the earlier ones where we meet Grandpa Bear. I thought that was a fun scene when they go to the oh eat the flaccid
Phoenix.
phoenixes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and Ilya getting a chuckle out of her using everybody else to um, be her
Do
poison
the food
testers.
testing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Um, Softy really grew on me. And that's where, like, as much as
Oh, that was another fun moment where it's like, oh, Lucia's undergoing character development. And then the next scene, it's back to her normal. It's like, okay, well, a little bit of character development.
yeah,
Anyway, so see, Softy grew on me too because it fits with Lucia's MO for puppers where she finds someone who's high, or I guess, uh, Ilya,
another
um,
encyclopedia for us.
or yeah, like she's literally royalty, and she
Hmm.
pops up and she's like, "Nope, you're with me now. We're
Yep.
gonna go do these things."
Yeah. And our girl Lucia started off as a slave, who Durandal just happened to quote unquote choose because she was the only Beast King in the group. And yeah, kind of just took it from there, right? Oh, how far she has come. Or not in this book, because Durandal decided to only hold out for a sky rank sword.
Well, so
Um,
that's another like there are several potential things, and this book is not designed for the nitty-gritty deep dive, but I
mhm,
would say so she's essentially a Saiyan on Earth. She's got innate natural power,
mhm.
and we learned that everything she's doing should be hindering her, such as absorbing all those B scores at once and it not leaving her body,
And
eating
it
food,
is,
which is
but
sacrilege. Um,
Softy takes one for the team though and helps cleanse her of some of her impurities, right? With those succubus skills.
she tries. I could see it being how she power levels and joins us.
That bathwater.
But like the thing, like Durandal, so he was capped due to Lucia's growth, but he was
Hmm.
stronger than her initially. And
Hmm.
then he goes cannibal and eats swords, which contain powers, which then he ascends. Then he dies, doesn't die, defeats a unborn phoenix, and he essentially becomes Pokemon, where only by
Yeah.
battling other beings does he become stronger,
Uh,
but you can only battle them in the sense of taking over their form or absorbing their essence. So I don't know if he can be slotted in the sword to have this happen. I don't know. It was
he did
a
get
lot
to
of
wrestle
potential.
a cactus later.
Yeah, yeah, when they fight the cactus to get Durandal back.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm curious, like she leaves at the end, she pretty much goes from becoming the top student for the Shadow Sect, which we learn is like this nobody sect. Like they're one of the five fingers of Con County or whatever. But that's just like a county of, this larger nation that's one of many nations. Um, and she pretty much goes from like star pupil who can't follow any of the rules, um, ends up poisoning their own cleansing pool, starting a big old war at the exchange, the cultivation exchange or whatever, that we get to see Ilya pretty much do
I
her
thought it
crazy
was something
fireball.
poison related, but I can't remember.
Well, they framed the poison sect,
Hmm.
because it was poisoned, and one guy's belly button turned into a nipple or something like that, and he claimed that he saw him. And at first, um, Elder Moonlight is all about it because he's like, yes, finally. We later find out that when they went to the Emperor's, exchange or whatever, he ranked in the 40s for all this different stuff. So like he's kind of power hungry and ends up encouraging Lucia just to regret it. And by the end of the book, she's so powerful in the Sky Realm after she finally does let them cleanse all the impurities out of her that she jumps up a rank and becomes elder. Um, and then later on, like I think before she gets to that point, she releases like 1,000 of the heartwormy devil cultivation squirrels. And then we find out that when she gets drunk, she releases a bunch more, practically destroying the sect. And immortals supposedly hunt down squirrels because they're so fearful of them. I hope in later books we get to find out more about the lore of the mythical squirrel, because we find out in the
I
pocket realm
I
they're
hope
pretty fearsome.
we get more of the squirrel, and I want to figure out why this is such a thing, because in the Completionist Chronicles, there's a section that it's like the oh, I forget the name. It's something ominous, like rabid blood squirrel or something, and it looks completely harmless, and it's actually looks like a squirrel, but it's something super vicious. And then we get it again through the God King's Legacy series. So I'm curious
Fear the
where all of that
squirrels.
comes from. But besides the point, essentially people normally don't summon very many of them because it takes a bit of their cultivation. So even though she got purified and cleansed, so she doesn't have that hindering her, she still has all of these. I can't remember the name of them out and about. So I could see her sitting at home chilling, doing nothing, or her being in another epic battle fight scene moment that she can't escape. Insert giant plant, dragon, monster, blah. And then the immortal continent realm going and killing off all her squirrels and her like reabsorbing the powers.
That's true.
And then as well as they've planted a bunch of heart devils where she can then go and get to that realm, not quite being immortal, cultivate, become an immortal. Everybody finds her. They go to battle her. Lightning, tribulation saves the day.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah.
lot of easy potential power scaling ahead. Um,
She was able to power level so quick because of her natural ability to plant heart devils.
yeah,
Just poke the bear, poke the squirrel, and all these individuals, and plant heart devils in them. So yeah, yeah. Is it a series you want to continue?
yeah. I know there's at least three, or we have three of them in the series, so I can continue it. It's definitely whimsical and a great palate cleanser.
You have to be in the mood.
For those who don't know, like I literally consume a book a day, and a lot of I tend to get very analytical and introspective or philosophize. This one, not exactly necessary. It is more, I guess, lewd and comical, and
It
yeah,
doesn't
the
go as deep as some of our favorite ones do, right? Like where we get caught up in the lore and all the events and, pull up the cork board, string it all together
yeah
that
causal connections.
that this is how the magic scales and this is like the backstory behind this, that, and the other. Here, it's a squirrelkin with her sword spirit and sock spirit and her walking purple encyclopedia demon, um, as they pretty much go on adventures, right? And this one was in the Immortal continent where we acquire Softy and Brother Claw and oh, I remember the scene that I was going to say was one of my favorites was when we finally meet the Emperor. After she absorbs the giant focus bone.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah,
one way to find out if this is a bone or not. Let me go engrave it and absorb it. And then the Emperor shows up. And he's all like, do you know who I am? It's like, oh my gosh. You
I gave him
know,
amnesia. I bonked him so hard. Yeah,
uh, and even when the leader of the shadow sect is like calling him, it's like, don't go planting ideas in people's heads. Like, there's no way. And it ends up, she ends up planting a heart devil in him, of all people,
yeah.
um, copying his ancient technique that took him 10 years to learn, in one go. It's just like, oh man, we've all met those people that
Well,
like,
I relate it the most to white people. where we're like, oh yeah, we're awesome. And then you look at like any competitive sport, yeah, we're not awesome. It's okay. You know, it's like, or well, I guess I'm not into any IRL
I was about to
sports,
say,
so
you watch
the
sports?
only ones that I know is some. I think Hulu lied to me, and they had ads and something. Oh, it's
Hulu has a weird
the
payment structure.
black tennis player, and it was like, oh, someone, and the Matrix, and someone, and the Matrix, and they actually got me interested because they combined. So Captain Planet, them, and they combined. But anyway, and then you had like Tiger Woods before his, and yeah, yeah, those stuff. Relate.
Sure. Yeah. I caught Hulu out of all that, but I believe you. I believe you.
Or
We all
what
just
I was
need
saying
to
is everybody
channel.
in the Immortal continent thinks they're awesome, but in reality, if
Mm,
anyone foreign comes over, like if you think you're good at video games, well, go up against a Korean kid or like
that's
there's a
true.
whole different level of awesome that you don't even know exists.
That's true. That's true. Um, yeah. Yeah.
And it turns out
Humble
when you look
yourself.
up the definition of theory crafting, it is not to generate a theory. It is literally how to optimize a video game, how to achieve the best stats, how to have the best gear, how to optimize your run. That is what theory crafting is.
You mean
Which,
the perfect run?
yes,
Uh, uh,
that one.
uh. Speaking of the perfect run, is this the perfect time to plug the next
I
book we're
yeah,
going to talk
I
about?
guess that's fine. I can do that. So for next weekend, the perfect run. Oh, gotta click some buttons.
But a bomb.
And possibly more buttons. I'll click that one. All right, so the perfect run was recommended to us, and I said I was going to find the person. I am clicking buttons. Trying to remember where it was. Omega PSI recommended this to us, and it is essentially a post-apocalyptic My Hero Academia that people gain powers, but it was developed by alchemy. So for me, it was very exciting. The whole idea or concept for the perfect run in a video game is you go through it multiple times, you figure out all the ins and outs, you learn everything you can, and then you strive to achieve the perfect run or to do it in the best manner possible to, save people, to get the best gear, yada yada. But we essentially follow a individual who reminds me a bit of Jason from He Who Fights with Monsters. He's very,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, seems like it's chaotic or whimsical or comical, but in reality, it's just the only way he can protect his sanity, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's I thoroughly enjoy it. It has a lot of potential. It is in the first book. It is like glimpsing or hinting at parallel universes. So I'm intrigued, but I guess that's all I can really say on that front.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised about this book too, and it's one of the many things that we've really enjoyed about starting this passion project is finding other people in this little corner of the internet to talk to books about with, and getting some great suggestions for new books to pick up that probably wouldn't have found on our own. We tend to obsess pretty hard on, for Pete, lit RPG, which I love as well, and then for me, like, sci-fi fantasy are my roots, and I go
I
pretty.
think the author does another series. that is more lit RPG. It was or after the epilogue. It was like a sneak peek at another series of his that seemed a
Okay.
little bit more lit, but
I'm glad you were paying attention because I thought that was a preview for like book two. I'm like, what is
no, no,
this?
no. It's book two didn't come out. He did one of one series, one of the second series, and now I think he has up to three of the Perfect Run released.
Are they just catching up on the audio format yet? Is that the
I don't know.
delay? Okay.
That sounds like a thing. I only picked up two because we had it queued.
Nice. I didn't even see that was out.
Yeah, he seems to be releasing them kind of quick. I think it's just to get up off the ground.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the current modern authors is dropping books
I,
nonstop. Love it.
it's a love-hate relationship with stuff, and it
Yeah.
really hit hard or was obnoxious when I was into console gaming. Sidestep
Uh,
video games, they do, hey, I'm a big name. You love me. You love me long time. I'm going to launch something every year. Here you go. Shove this in your face. And
yeah.
then you have a life and a job and a kid, and you come back to it when you literally bought it on Christmas, and it's like a year later, and you're like, these servers are dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the realm of books,
Adulting.
yeah, I don't have to compete with the individuals, and yeah, it's there's always going to be more content than can be consumed, but yeah,
Hmm.
a lot of it's just getting quicker.
Nice. Nice,
But
nice, nice.
after the perfect run, we have boom, Jeff the
Oh,
Game Master Manufacturing Magic by Jamie Castell and Troy Osgood. This
yes.
one is directly a lit RPG. The concept is artificial intelligence is utilized to help make the game run efficiently, and it is designed initially to create dynamic NPC interactions, and that it, yeah, it ends up altering things that leaves only one game master to answer all of the problems and all of the questions, changing stuff.
Hmm.
You have anything to say on this? Does that sound
Yeah.
accurate for what I said?
No, that is perfectly accurate without ruining or doing any spoilers. Both these books are the first in the series, so great opportunity to pick them up and then join us as we continue to work our way through and cycle back to other book series that we've started and haven't gotten too much farther in. I picked this one up because I kept seeing it and I was kind of curious after reading the summary. And initially, I completely missed the fact that one of the authors did an other series that we covered.
What?
And yeah, Troy Osgood is the author of the, oh gosh, Sky Realms series. Um, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but
Oh
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah. He
sure
does
about that.
Skyrims. Apparently, he
Yeah.
has a couple others.
Yeah, and so, like, I completely missed that until they made a reference about it, um, in this book, and
Oh
I'm like,
yeah, because they were like,
"What?"
"Oh, we're the best game. Everybody loves us. Oh, we're having a bunch of problems. We only have one game master, GM. Oh, what? You know, people aren't just going to go back to Skyrims." Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, yeah, so it's kinda like, "Wait, these are the same universe?" So there's some potential there maybe later on in the series for some crossover, which could be kinda cool.
You know what
Um
was ahead of its time that might make sense or bleed into that? So, oh, what is it? Wreck-It Ralph?
mhm.
where he's going into different games, or when he
Yes.
breaks the internet and he's going into different games. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you Wreck-It Ralph it, I would not be opposed. I think
Uh,
Sword Art also kind of does that, where they're like, "And you have defeated my world, and my present to you is a seed where you can create anything." And of course, we see this all the time. If you're ever in the game space, for example, I remember, possibly 10 years ago when I couldn't afford my WoW subscription, and I learned about private servers where people literally
mm-hmm.
host servers on their local computers and can adjust parameters inside the game where you literally walk in, become max level, go to the shop and
Mm-hmm.
pick out your gear. And it was essentially giant PvP dueling stuff. But yeah.
Ah, the good old days. The good old days when we had time to play MMOs like they were jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely had a lot of fun with this book. Kind of a different take on lit RPG. Recommend checking it out. Trying to remember. I think I might have already picked up book 2, but
And
we
possibly three, if I remember correctly.
yeah, we binge these series so hard. It's hard to keep them all straight, which is good, because when we come back to them, we remember things or see things we didn't catch the first time. Kind of a fresh look, and we're less likely to spoil what happens in books 2 or 3. Um,
Oh,
so
apparently there's only two out. If,
mm,
or well, I'm on the Audible, so
I think you're
possibly
right.
three.
There's only two out right now on Audible, which is the only way we get through these guys. Um, so yeah, I know I asked you to jump the gun a bit on talking about the streams for the next 2 weeks. Final thoughts on the Immortal Continent?
So yeah, pretty much what we already said. The Immortal Continent is a great palate cleanser. It is very ADHD oriented, very squirrel-esque, uh, adult. So please, um, listen to at your own risk. But I guess there were a lot of good quotes in there as well, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have them pulled, but I had them marked if I was to look at them. My scroll wheel is freaking out. Yeah, not directly relatable, but it's never immoral to chase one's dreams. So it's the common trope or question of, do the ends justify the means, or are you being, over the top? Um,
Mm-hmm.
And then another good one, no progress without failure. So essentially, like, the only way you can succeed is to fail. Or common analogy I always give is like the idea of developing muscle. The only way it grows or becomes more is through breaking it down. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to fail or destroy something in order to build it back stronger.
Mm-hmm.
There's one about people trying to flex or flaunt for living above their means, just pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I
Uh, ba,
remember
ba,
that one.
ba. Oh, when it's in the food one, when Lucia is working on her path of slaughter food flinging technique, and Ilya's like, you can only mock those if you've gone through worse in your example. So, yeah, so you can mock people if you've had harder tribulations.
Yeah, if you've walked a mile in their
Uh,
shoes, right?
yeah. And then there's another one. Oh, how can I give people advice if they don't know who they are? If they don't go through self-reflection. That was a deep one. In
That
context,
was for
not very
Lucia.
deep. Out of context, very deep.
I,
Yeah,
I,
and
I was about to say, like, Lucia was completely misreading the room on that one, but like the quote itself was pretty good.
yep. And then Oh, another good one. Tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. And that one hit home a lot more for me, uh, probably due to several medical reasons for whatever. But I'm pretty shy initially, and I kind of read the room and see what's going on, and then mold into that. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That was more comical, but troubles? What troubles? My troubles always go away if I just hit them hard enough. And on one sense, if taken literally, no, not always the answer. In the other sense, perseverance is key.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then it was said in here, it's one that you always hear. It's like a wise or a smart person will learn from their mistakes. A wise person will learn from the mistakes of others.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember the full quote. It's something like, if I had to fight a dragon or a baby duck, I would take the baby duck every time. That was more just comical, but sometimes taking the easy road for sanity, for longevity, for anything sometimes makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And those were the snapshots of the ones that I ended up grabbing.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you guys haven't already checked it out, we've been uploading a lot of our favorite quotes in the shorts. So Pete's been working hard on those. Go give him some love. And yeah,
I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week.
hope to catch you guys next week, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, next week is The Perfect Run, first book in the series. Feel free to pick it up. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and there's a lot of nuances that I need to talk about. So join me.
Yes. Bye.